The rise of the September Suns. Gold Coast make history in a fairy tale final, and coach Damien Hardwick is with us.
The Hawks are heading back to Adelaide, the theatre of last year's semi-final heartbreak, and Sam Mitchell is at the desk.
And football legend Lee Matthews is here as Queensland prepares for its most significant night yet.
Talked about is to step into it, embrace all of it.
Get in the room and fix it. It's unedifying for a senior coach to do that.
They're on the side of caution with the brain. Take the man off.
They played the best footy I've ever seen at the start of the season. And if you'd said Brisbane lift the cup, I would have said, of course they do.
It's the stuff that legends are made of.
What is holding the ball? I don't think I could answer it clearly right now.
I could do something wrong, you know, and I need to go. And the board sacks me.
The fans love it, and with no fans, no 360, right?
Thrilling eliminators, statement performances, and 3 road wins. Gaz, that was great.
Exactly what we needed.
Yeah.
Just turbocharge this finals campaign. 4 fantastic games, storylines everywhere. 2 great coaches coming here tonight, and the ultimate coach as well. It's going to be awesome.
So this hour has to do justice to the footy that was played. So we've got up to 17 premierships.
Between us.
The 2 coaches that you'd most like to hear from, Damien Hardwick and Sam Mitchell. And our long-held desire to have Lee Matthews here at the desk is about to be fulfilled. It's like bringing the mega powers together, the 2 best opinions in the game sitting together to dissect all that transpired.
I was thinking, who's the other one?
And then me on the couch, Jack, Geordie, Nathan and Jonathan to take us through what transpired to their eye in week 1 of the finals. Now, my last dollar was on an outright leader in the GVPs. And I'm so excited to say we have an outright leader in the GVPs, the Mustang GT Fastback, valued at $93,000. Iconic design, unreal performance, 5-litre V8 engine. It is up for grabs in this final series. And the movement, honestly, these votes should be worth double the
They should be, and there were some heroics throughout this first final series that deserved double votes. So unlucky players everywhere, but it can only be 3, Jared. That's the way we roll. John Newcombe was unbelievable in the game that we watched up at the Giants Ingy Stadium. Just thought his first half just put a stamp on it. It's everything you wanted from a finals performer. The man that's coming in here, I watched the Hawthorn team through my childhood, and the number 3 was a legend. And to watch the number 3 go about it in the final series, had a familiar look about it, and he was unbelievable. So fantastic performance from him. Matthew Rowell, 2 votes. Matty Rowell. Started watching this in the airline lounge and no sound, and I was just marvelling at his brute strength and the sort of thing that I've loved about him all year. And look, Caleb Strong was superb, Brayshaw was superb, Noah Anderson was superb, but he just catches my eye. I just love the way he plays. I love the way he tries, which is a pretty simplistic way to put about it, but he was absolutely brilliant.
Did his mum get 3 votes?
She can drive the Mustang if he wins it. And then I thought Darcy Moore was as significant as anyone to the victory of their sides. Of the 4 wins, seems like a month ago this game, but he had a couple of little shaky moments, but this is Darcy Moore at his best. We'll talk about how and why in a moment, but I just thought he stopped Adelaide, just stopped them in their tracks, and it was an unbelievable performance. 13 possessions, 13 intercept possessions, all of them.
It was great.
It was awesome.
All right, so here's what we've got.
Ooh. Still
Matty Rowell, 11 votes.
There's still time.
That's
for 1 or 2. But, yeah, no, I loved it. I love the way he played, Jared. It was unbelievable.
All right, let's get to it. The agenda is steeped in the events of 4 spectacular finals, each distinct in its own way, but they served as a collective to remind us that September footy really is the best.
To come over here, you know, no one probably gave us too much of a chance, which we somewhat love, but yeah, really proud of the group right now.
Well, 3 quarters won't get it done in finals footy.
I just want to keep a bit of a lid on it.
They were really ready tonight to go. I thought we were, but they were much better than us.
Yeah, it's devastating.
We were 1-8 previously, now we're 1-6 chance of winning. Something pretty special.
You know, that was a great win. You know, I'm really proud of all the lads and how they went about it.
Finals are about moments. You know, they took more moments than we did.
Over our coaching journeys, in particular in finals, there's some moments in big finals games that players get right.
Can you win it?
Yeah, I think we can, and the other 8 teams would be saying the same thing. It's small margins around now, and yeah, we'll give it our best shot.
Nick Dacos works the ball through for a brilliant goal. Jagoe has put it through. He's a miracle worker. They have been remorseless and relentless.
You know, we're just playing match play right now. Now we don't know who our next match play is against. But I know one thing, that next time we play, there's only 4 teams left.
Has Dempsey kicked that? Oh, that is fantasy football.
Hello, boys. Gone with the ball here. Geelong have turned the tables on the champs. They book all the advantages of September, and they force the Lions to go the long way round the mountain.
You make a drama out of it. They've been in the last 7 final series and done some pretty good work in that time, so it's not always going to be a bed of roses.
It is so abrupt. The finish is so abrupt. I am nowhere near ready for the season to be over in 5 days' time.
And it's bye-bye to the Giants. The Hawks sneak it closer to goal. Taylor kicks it. Come on, Shoal. Roll again.
The message is keep putting yourself in that position. Keep putting you in a position where you can fail on the big stage and be incredibly disappointed, but if you're not there, you'll never feel it.
I'm going to give you an exclusive here tonight, Jared. The man will play. It's head versus heart, but the combination of circumstances is he deserves his spot.
But if you close your eyes... Swallow held! He's held Swallow! And a big opportunity here. He'll get the free kick. Cox tackled him. He didn't have the ball. His both seven goes for the bloody ear. And he's going to get a crack to win the game. His first final. In his first ever final. He goes long. Swallow! Incredible! He fires! I reckon he's got it! He bloody well has! What an extraordinary finish to this game this has been. You wouldn't read about it. You wouldn't believe it.
Siren, the agony and the ecstasy of sport.
But if you it's been 15 years in the making. Do you believe in fairy tales? David Swallow, you are a hero.
There's no tougher challenge, I reckon, than coming across here in front of 60,000 fans, hostile environment, get headed with 2.5, 3 minutes to go, and then respond. So they'll gain enormous confidence, I think, out of that victory.
It was a game you could only see in September. What a moment! I've never seen anything like it. My goodness. What a kick. What a moment.
How about that for 4 finals? So we need 2 great minds for it. Lee Matthews, welcome to 360.
Thanks, Jared. Gary, good to join you. I'm here a bit earlier so I can go to bed earlier. Is that the reason? I think there must be a reason.
That's why I'm here. How'd you go watching that, though? Well done to everyone who put that package together. But what a way to kick this final series.
Yeah, well, just the sharpness of winning and losing just comes more to the fore when you get into the knockout stage, which it is now for all 6 teams. But the agony and the ecstasy, as Dwayne said, it's very much that.
And you know, we throw cliches and we throw them around a bit at this time of year, but you know, the big one is, hey, finals is a whole different ball game. I reckon there's a couple of clubs who are sitting there tonight that perhaps had an experience and said, geez, you're damn right there is, including one over in South Australia who get a chance to redeem themselves. But that was at the next level. But they just didn't look ready for me. We'll talk about it in a minute.
Yeah. Well, being ready, I mean, but we always get a recency bias. What happened last weekend is always such a big issue, but it has little to do with what's going to happen next weekend and even the weekend after that. I mean, each contest is 2.5, 3 hours in a little package, and it's who does it best in the 2 or 3 hours. That's what's going to win or lose from now on, and win, go on and survive, and lose, you're out.
So you could have had your head in the clouds after all that, but to ground us, this is something that both of you believe in. What do you like? What statistics, what measures do you like during a game in September?
Well, one thing I always keep track of is the ability to create marks inside the 50-metre arcs for yourself, both forward and back, and stop the opposition creating marks in forward and back. And that hit me on Thursday night, and you gave gave Darcy Moore your best player of the round. I mean, his ability to intercept mark in the back 50 for Collingwood just kind of seemed to set up the game, isn't it? I don't know quite how or why, because sometimes he was on his own. It was like the Crows players were kicking the ball to him, so they dominated that part of the ground. And this is where Mason Cox comes into it. He because he's so big, they can't mark against him. And OK, it's great if you're a forward and you can mark the ball, but if you haven't got forwards who are going to mark the ball a lot, make sure the opposition don't. So I think that really got borne out in the Thursday night game, and the Friday night game was a bit similar. The two qualifying finals were like the big margin, where Geelong kind of dominated the inside 50s, both forward and back. If you do that, pretty good. It's the end of the process. It's not the start of the process, but the ability to do that is always will be so critical to me.
Yeah, so Darcy Moore talking about, Tom Stewart was unbelievable, and then the whole Hawthorn back six. But it's great you're here. So this is the coach. You and I have moaned about this for a long time. It would appear that the first thing that goes in ways of structure is the forward half. We're under pressure, therefore we will vacate our forward half. We'll get numbers around, and all of a sudden you lose your structure. And Darcy Moore, that's given up goals plenty in the last 6 weeks of footy, gets to play on his own. Is it a coaching thing, though? Is it a lack of respect for the forward?
You'd feel like you'd like to stop the game and say to the coaches, now, how are you trying to set this up?
Yes.
I don't think the Crows are trying to set up Darcy Moore being loose man in defence on his own. But somehow there's no individual forward who's been designated. Normally what you have to do is having one of your forwards make sure their main interceptor doesn't stand by himself. You've got to get someone onto him. Even if it's a smaller bloke, it doesn't matter. You can't let them be on their own. So I think we were all watching that game and asking the question because it was seen to be happening for a big chunk of the game, didn't it?
Oh,
the behind the goal vision was really instructive when you saw Darcy Moore virtually on his own in his half of the field.
Not only that, given that Darcy Moore had given up 6 goals to Patrick Voss in a game 5 or 6 weeks ago at the MCG. I know it's different, but on players and Logan Morris who hit up at the ball, that draw the footy, and Darcy's sitting in that room, Lee, I'm sure, he's sitting in the room before the game going, please, just don't leave me on my own. And lo and behold, he plays on his own and just stops Adelaide in their tracks. It was a staggering miss.
And the other thing that he did, he marked it, he didn't try and spoil.
Yeah.
Because the other thing you want from you to intercept markers, and Harris Andrews on Friday night, he mainly spoiled. Even though he had Shannon Neal under control, you'd need them to mark the ball, which is what Tom Stewart did and Darcy Moore did and Mason Cox stopped the Crows' defenders from doing.
All right, you're renowned as the most pragmatic man in football, but Saturday night was for the misty-eyed romantics. Gaz, could you believe from the moment that David Swallow was announced as being in the team here that it would conspire to deliver the defining moment of the game? The ball was on his boot at the end.
No, because if you write the script, you'd say, listen, that's too corny.
Too much.
You're overstretching here. No, Damien Hardwick announced it here, which took us both by surprise when he said he was going to play, and then all week we lived it through his eyes. Every single Gold Coast Suns player that talks about David Swallow does it with a reverence. So his standing in the club is unsurpassed. And then we just got off the plane when this happened, and the Hawthorn boys were sitting around watching it, and this cheer went up when he slotted it through. So, no, I thought it was an overreach by the script writers, but it was superb in the end.
It was amazing, Lee, wasn't it?
No, it was. I mean, that he's been one of the very long-standing Suns players. I always think, it's interesting because I don't know how much he deserved his place in the team on form, and you'd say the same about Nat Fyfe. But using him as subs, I mean, I know we're about to get rid of the sub. I reckon the sub's got a really good function in our game, and one of them is for your veteran players, they're good subs.
Dimmer alluded to the injection of emotion that he lived through this because they took on Port Adelaide, and Port Adelaide beat them through his Travis Boak eyes. I reckon it sort of planted a seed for him in the back of his mind and said, well, there is an emotional uplift in all this. And then we see scenes like this, which, we'll talk about what it means for footy up there in Queensland and particularly on the Gold Coast. It's stunning. It was a stunning result.
There were 2 possibilities with the Suns, either satisfied to get there, finally made the breakthrough, or built for finals. And it turns out they're built for finals.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're going to be satisfied. I mean, those 2 young blokes in the middle, Rail and Anderson, I mean, the fact that they were the first and second choice in the draft and they stayed. They're good players, great characters, and they stayed. Only 24-year-olds. I mean, that's a terrific core to build your club on.
philosophically, they've got those two. I know they and then you got Sarong and Brayshaw were outstanding as well. To be able to shut down Anderson and Rao goes a long way to shutting down the Gold Coast, more so even than the other two. And you see what Geelong are able to do with their Irish wolfhounds who can go after anyone at any time.
Is it because Geelong haven't got really elite 3 or 4 centre square players? Atkins is their anchor point, so they can use other players and use a couple of... But training up a couple of close checking one-on-oneers like Geelong have done, I mean, I don't think most clubs haven't got that. They either haven't trained it or they just... It's not part of their list.
Coaches have been telling us for years that it throws our system out. You can't play it because it upsets the way we want to play.
Even coaches get fascinated by their system, as if my system will always beat their system.
That's what I love about Lethal.
The Brisbane Lions, what risk is there that all the adversity that they have stared down and I think heroically come through is about to crush them? Are they at tipping point?
Well, I think they probably are at tipping point, but it doesn't mean they can't still play well. I mean, Hipwood's been out for a while and Lachie Neale didn't play for a few weeks and they had really good wins against Freo in Perth and Collingwood and Hawthorn at the Gabba. So they've still played well without the couple of players that are now going to be out of the campaign. But you always want your best 23 on your list is what you'd like to field, and certainly the Lions, probably if you took the grand final team last year, there's 5 or 6 missing from that grand final team last year. So a lot of load on the next generation players, because you can have 1 or 2 really young guys, but if you have 4 or 5, doesn't matter how good the other 18 or 20 are, it's really hard to cope. So the Lions are in that sort of in that margins.
We looked for signs early in games and there was a clear sign, wasn't there?
So they'd won the last 3, Brisbane against Geelong, in a similar pattern. So they'd kicked 36 points from the back half, 52 points from the back half and 59. So you're going, gee, their ball movement from the back half's been superb. Chris Scott's one of the smartest coaches in the competition. So this is what happened at a time when I went, this is the first time they really started to look to try and get this game going. And Zorko gets involved twice. This is before a score's kicked, and bang, Stengel's on it, goes back the other way, Jeremy Cameron mark and goal. And the pattern was established for the rest of the night. We know you want to do this. We know you're going to take the game on through the middle, and we're awake to it, and we're alert to it, and we're switched on. And the amount of smothers, the smothering in that first half, the 50 tackles in the first half, it just... And to Brisbane's eternal credit, Lee, they didn't get spooked. They just kept going, which is, that's the way they're going to play. And if you can beat us, good luck. Well, Geelong beat you and beat you really well. So what we watch now is the learnings, and Gold Coast will go to school on it, because I'm pretty sure they ain't changing. And Geelong was superb.
No, they weren't. No, those 3 or 4 intercepts in the centre square when you try to bring the ball back inside, that's enough for the team. We've got to be really careful from now on. But Geelong kind of smothered the contest. They just got a lot of bodies around the contest. The hit-outs didn't matter at all because there was going to be about 24 players within 10 metres of the ball, and that's led by probably Tom Atkins. But the ability to smother the Lions, and the Lions therefore couldn't run. When they kicked the ball long and high in the air, well, the Geelong defence just dominated.
Is the Lachie Neale injury one too many for you?
It feels like it. It does feel like it. But I'm still giving them a massive chance against the Gold Coast Suns. I'm talking ultimate success here. I'm talking premierships. They're still very much alive this weekend. It'll be outstanding. But we watched this at the time, and there was half your heart in your mouth and suggestion from our boys on the boundaries that is it cramped, but you just knew by the way he looked at it. So you're not getting over a calf in 4 weeks, so that season done. And it does just feel a bit like that.
And the Q clash, Lee, in a final series. So we've had 4 Sydney derbies peculiarly, 1 showdown, never had a Western Derby. Is this the biggest night of footy in Queensland?
Well, it'll be gigantic for Queensland. You've got to remember, it's a bit like the southeast Queensland, but there's Brisbane and the Gold Coast are kind of an hour apart. The Gold Coast Bulletin would be full of Gold Coast stuff. I'll be interested to see whether the Courier Mail, the daily paper in Brisbane, normally... You don't get much AFL on that. Might be on the back page this week. Who knows?
To be, doesn't it?
But it should be. I mean, it's the 2 South East Queensland teams being in the finals for your first same time together and playing each other. Yeah, that's a huge contest.
All right, the 2 teams that were eliminated, the Giants, and this is your long suit, just the dysfunction in their forward line early.
Yeah, they absolutely dominated field position. They had 40 inside 50s by half-time, and you talk about connecting with your forwards. They took 3 marks from those 40 inside 50s. We're talking Cadman, talking Hogan, Stringer. And this stuff, I was with Jonathan Brown and Dermot Brereton, and I suppose we all look at it through the same lens. They just ran back to goal. They just showed the ball kicker their back the whole way. Not one player decided to turn around and hit up at the kicker for the easiest kick in footy. Watch this, Lee. Have a look at the numbers here and look at how every single one of them is going back to goal. Every one of them is heading back. There's a dirty, great big hole there to come into. And then what happens? In the end, the players with the ball go, well, no one's coming at me. So what's my options here? So again, they had that many looks early in this game coming through the middle, and to Hawthorn's credit, they stood up. But they just kept coming back to goal, coming back to goal, coming back to goal, and they weren't getting separation. If they're getting separation, you might think about it. And then what happens as a result of this? Eventually, the penny will drop and a player will go, oh, I'm going to hit up. And they did it a bit more in the second half. So look at that. That's the easiest kick you'll ever get in footy. But by this stage, the blokes with the ball are going, well, you're not hitting up at me all day, so I'm not kicking there. And they just handed the footy back. It was as dysfunctional a forward group as you'd like to see, and that's taking nothing away from Hawthorn's defence, who were just simply brilliant from the opening bounce. But this, if you wanted to get an easy kick, you could have got an easy kick in that forward half if you were prepared to turn around and come back up at the ball.
You're so used forwards these days because of the way the game's played of running back towards goal. It's as if they're not used to leading at the kicker. No. And it's almost a foreign thing to do. But as you pointed out, I mean, one of those three coming back has to be prepared to come back.
72 they had inside 50s for the game. It's just the equal most ever in a losing final.
So the picture of the Giants now, who are regressing year on year, so close in a preliminary final against Collingwood. They blew their two big leads last year, as is well documented. They come from 42 points down to hit the front in a preliminary final. So they've now lost the full set of finals, a preliminary final, qualifying final, semi-final and elimination final. They're getting further away. It feels like they should be getting closer. What's your read on that?
Yeah, they play so well on their day that you kind of... But they don't do it often enough. They've been too up and down, and that's been pretty normal over the last few years. And so they get themselves into a position. And last year, I mean, we'll always remember that game. They were 44 points in front of the Lions and still lost that game. So that's not going to happen all that often. But they don't seem to be on the up. They just seem to be stuck in that around the mark. And they think they're still around the mark.
I think there's a chance for them. So I went back and had a look at Richmond under Hardwick. So they went 7th, 8th, 7th, 13th, which is a bit, you know, he's going 4th, 5th, 8th, going a bit the same way. Then they went 1st, 3rd, 1st, 1st. And Hawthorn were a bit the same. Fags, 18, 15, 5-4, 5-4, just hanging around, 2-1, breakthrough. The Dockers under Longmire a bit the same, 12, 11, 16, 14, 10, now they're coming back. I think there's still a chance for them. And Adam Kingsley said it, just keep putting yourself back into that spot and believe.
Freo, so there's no doubt it's an opportunity lost. Now, 1 point results in finals are cruel, so you don't want to extrapolate too much. And they do have a young profile, as they're just opening up now. But that was an opportunity loss.
It was. I'm still bullish on them, and it might be to my detriment in the long term. But I think a bit like what I'm talking about with these other players, you just got to keep putting yourself back in there. And I think they've got enough pieces of this puzzle, Lee, to contend again, learn, contend. They need to add that defensive mid to that group so that those two boys can continue to get to work, but also be able to lock down one of either Rowell or Anderson. Yeah. That's maybe a Windhager, but, you know, that's the sort of thing they're looking at. But I'm still bullish. What about you?
No, I think they're still potentially on the up. But I never thought they were likely to go all the way this year myself. It just never hit me that they would. I thought the Suns were magnificent. Yeah, they were. Like, for most of the game. I mean, they dropped away and obviously Freo could have come over the top of them, but I thought for much of the game they really took it over there, and Freo couldn't quite cope with that, as the Lions could against Geelong, not do against Geelong on Friday night. Sometimes the opposition can have a really good game, and yeah, okay, they've got beaten by a point. That's a wafer-thin margin in reason why you won or reason why you lost. But no, again, they're a bit like the Giants. They're round the mark, but I never felt they were likely to be the 2 or 3 sides most likely to go all the way.
How are you on them?
They're just starting out. It was really only that they declared now was winning time. Yeah. They're making their progress. But at home, 57,000, a team that had never seen finals, you've got to win that game. Yeah. And they got outplayed, I agree. They got outplayed for most of it. Did Adelaide get stage fright?
Oh, stage fright's a strange thing. I mean, Collingwood jumped into the game better. And I guess you'd say, why is that? I mean, this is the physically you don't change much from week to week. Your knowledge doesn't change much from week to week, but your emotional state is changing all the time. And that's what happens with footballers and football teams. So in the emotional state, they didn't seem to have it at the start of the game. Like when the game had to be won and that real contest, it was Collingwood who looked like they were just at the game harder. So whether that's stage fright, I don't know, honestly, the reason. But I would have thought you'd say the Crows didn't play well. I mean, they got beaten by fair margin, like 3-6 is a fair margin. But they didn't play the tempo, that's for sure.
So Collingwood, I thought the 23 Collingwood players went in with a finals-like mentality that this is play for our lifetime. That's what no one knows it better than this. Is you do what, it's the Maynard mentality. He carries it, and I reckon 22 others went with him. I reckon there were 4 for Adelaide. I don't reckon there were anywhere near enough Adelaide players that had a play for my life, most important thing I've ever done, ever, mentality. Now, first time playing finals for a lot of them, they will walk back going, well, this is why next week is so interesting for me on Friday night, is what you learn. I reckon Matthew Nicks missed his mark. I don't think he coached in the manner. I don't think he was anywhere near the coach that he was, allowing the Moore thing to unfold in the manner that it did. I thought they were deferential. That is, they deferred to Collingwood. Oh, you blokes look like you're a bit hungrier than us, so we'll sit back. And I thought they were way too passive as a football club. And that is a... I know they're strong words and they're not meant to be derogatory, but that is what it looked like to most people, I reckon. So now it's over to you, Matthew Nicks in Adelaide, and let's see if you can... And then Lee, I guess the next thing is you can wind them back up here and throw all this at their feet. You've got to get the level right on Friday. You can't tip over the other way.
Well, that's true. I mean, but the circumstances would create there's going to be a rebound. I mean, most of the time when a qualifying final is lost, the winners bounce back off that and usually rebound pretty well for a whole lot of these set of circumstances that if you could put your finger on exactly the why, it wouldn't be so irregular.
You remember, I know we're going to keep going. Phil Thorpe, who I don't think he's scared. He's never said to me that he's a scared player, but he deferred. He didn't go. This is not the time where you go, oh no, well, I might let someone else have a go at it. This is your time where you go, oh, I'm the man. This is the finals. Cutthroat, I'll be the one. That's what I want to see from them on Friday night, because Hawthorn will bring that mentality.
So the umpiring is Razor's Edge will do a big project on this tomorrow night. So there's the singular moments, which we sheet home too much to one man, I think, and then there's the systematic side of it. As this was unfolding, you're sitting in the stands as just the tumult spreads. What are we looking at here?
Well, it is credible. I was sitting in the stands, and when you're at the football and you're not getting the replays, I mean, obviously, I can't recall ever being at a game where the ball has gone, from one end to the other end for a free kick. And now, if it's a free kick, well, clearly that is supposed to happen. And I thought to myself, I hope it was a big free kick, not a little wishy-washy one. Hope it was a big one, because this is a big furor, the second one got them the 2 goals. But, I mean, that's a little free kick, isn't it? I mean, the one thing I would say, when 2 players are 100 metres from the ball, the contact should be almost none. Like, it's not like you're 10 metres from the ball and you're pushing and shoving each other. No, so there's no doubt that Cameron exaggerated the contact, and the contact was very little. But at the same time, there should be no contact.
You're saying from a defender's point of view?
From anybody's point of view. In other words, any player who's creating a contact like that, you could push that as... You could say that was a push in the back, if nothing else. All I'm saying is there should be no contact 100 metres from the ball, should there, in principle? Like, when you're around the contest, you're pushing and shoving, but it is usually... I watched a reserves game yesterday in the Morning Peninsula League, and there's 2 young umpires. Players were going down all over the place.
Is that a free kick, that one?
They were just saying, get up.
Yeah, that's right.
In other words, that's what I got a feeling. It was a free kick. You can't shove the bloke, again, 50 metres from the ball. But nevertheless, Jared, at the game, when you didn't have the replay, it was like a terrible, weird atmosphere, because you didn't know what exactly is going on here. So when you get into the big picture of it, well, I guess if the umpire thinks it's a free kick, he's got to pay it. Now, I hate the fact the AFL have thrown their umpire under the bus. Like, OK, it was probably a bad decision, but you don't have to say it too categorically. They employ the umpires. It's like a coach and his team. The AFL's team of officiators is the umpires. Treat them with respect and don't throw them under the bus.
What should they have said then? Because if they don't give that answer...
I think said it was a very contentious decision, and the umpire at the time chose to give it.
Would that satisfy the missus?
No, that's not the point.
He's back him.
You've got to look after your umpires and every other umpire out in the suburbs that needs to be supported by the people who employ them.
Lee, it's been great to have you here.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Take over the umpiring next.
Lee Matthews on AFL 360, our modern-day coaches who experienced the absolute euphoria of all of it. Damien Hardwick over in the West and Sam Mitchell in Sydney. They are both with us next as they eye up their semi-final assignments.
Smooth Moves, brought to you by Jamison Whiskey.
They were elimination finals for the ages. The smooth-moving Marbior Chol sealed the deal in Sydney for the Hawks with his classy finish, a classic finish. And then over in the West, a beautiful moment that will live long in the folklore of the game. The original Sun booting Gold Coast to a semi-final. It had a little bit of arc intervention. Thankfully, no damage done, or I can't imagine the state we would have found Damien Hardwick in tonight. Given the history of these things, our privileged access throughout the finals with our coaches continues, and thanks to video messaging platform Swish, Damien Hardwick is with us up on the Gold Coast. Dimmer, welcome back.
Good evening, gents. Mitch, how we going?
Sam Mitchell, hello.
Very well. How are we all?
So just before we get into the nitty-gritty, indulge us for a moment. Just the adrenaline rush, the euphoria, how did it manifest for you at the end, Sam?
We had a little bit of a lead, and it wasn't quite celebrate time until Marbs kicked the goal, and we all looked up at the clock, and we get 17 seconds to actually enjoy this, and I felt like I would have liked a bit longer, but then I watched their game, and Dimmer had even less time than that.
How does it get you still after all these years, Dimmer?
Yeah, Dimmer, we had 9 seconds, and then they were deciding whether or not to, with the centre bounce, how we defend that. And then all of a sudden it went to a kick-in pretty quickly, which was, funnily enough, it was a better result for us in the end of the day. So it was well played by David just to allow that ball to snick a finger on the way through.
Does it stir emotions in you?
Yeah, it does, absolutely. You're talking about Dave or just the win in general?
Whatever you like.
Yeah, the Dave one was... it was just a surreal moment, really. You're sort of sitting there and think, is this really happening? That because probably about 2.5 minutes prior to that, he had a bit of an error that he sort of cost us a goal going the other way, but he got to pay us back tenfold, really. But look, there's no better feeling, I think, when you walk into the rooms at the end and the players are celebrating with their families and our staff. And as we sort of spoke about last week, finals are incredibly tough, first and foremost, but elimination finals are just so cutthroat. So to win it as we did was really, really special, and, have a fair amount of support over there too, which was quite good.
I spoke to the boys that were in those rooms. I heard them talk about the fact that that atmosphere you talked about. They said it sounds a bit hokey, but it was like the birth of the football club. Like they really, footy club had arrived. You had a moment with David where you handed the footy over as well. Matty Rail's mum, the whole thing. It felt like a real football club.
Yeah, it did. It was special because people worked incredibly hard. Gold Coast have, as I sort of said, not been the butt of jokes, but we've been stomped on, we've been put down, and I think we, finally, for a lot of people that put in the hard work for 15 years, it's sort of like we've arrived. And, we're only starting our journey, really. We understand that. We know we're not the finished product, but what we are is more importantly leaning into the place we're in at the moment. We're really excited to head up into the Q Clash Saturday night and give it our best shot, and hopefully get a few more Gold Coast Sun supporters up there as well, which will be a positive for us.
Did Matt go forward off his own accord, or did you send him down? I think he's starting to claim it as time goes on. I think he's starting to claim it as his own.
Yeah, it's a little bit like, remember the Adam Hunter secret move that West Coast used to have? All of a sudden it charged forward. Mac's a little bit the same. So we had to hold him back. But it's sort of when Tracy went forward, I think he went forward with about 3.5 minutes to go. We thought we'd normally go into some different sort of win game, but we thought it was a little bit long, so we pushed him forward, which was great. So I think Josh Drummond sort of, suggested, and we have our what-ifs, obviously, and that's always one about when we do push him forward. But, You didn't need much encouragement to run down there. I'll give you the tip.
Sam, you sat here last week, so you just weren't ready for it to be over, and so it's not, and you have to go through a lot to get there. As you've sort of absorbed it all, where's your mind gone as to the how you were able to do it?
I think we'd been there before, so one of the... I thought if you'd sort of do your, it's easy to do a post-mortem, but we sort of do a pre-mortem on the game, and if it was going to go badly, what would happen? And every game we've played against the Giants has been close, and being able to handle that close game moment, and we've had three games this year that we've lost from similar positions interstate, so we didn't shy away from it. I think even James Sicily brought it up in his pre-game to the boys I read today. So we had embraced those moments and those losses, and to know, OK, we've been here before, we've given up a lead, but we're actually still in front going into three-quarter time. And they kicked a goal with about 10 seconds into the last quarter, which tested the resolve, but I was rapt for the players that they lent on each other and stood up.
There was this irrepressible moment when Josh Kelly said, well, get on my back. We can't kick goals conventionally, we'll kick them all from stoppage. And so you're sitting there watching it unfold, three-quarter time comes around, I suspect you take a deep breath, and then you give up the first goal from another stoppage. What's going through your mind at that stage?
I mean, we knew we had to score to win. I think sometimes when you get into these moments, and what we had a bit of a tendency to do is try and save the game, and we're a reasonably attacking and flary team, so we're not particularly good at shutting a game down and slowing things down. There's some other teams that are really good at that, really skilled at it, have been doing it for a long time. We don't have that in our kit bag as well as some others, so just keep going at it, just keep going fast, keep trying to create scoring opportunities, and hopefully you can run them off their legs a little bit. And the work rate of the game went for like 140 minutes the game, so it was a game that we knew we had to stay in it right to the end. And fortunately, even Marbs' his last tackle, he put so much speed into that that you're in a good spot. So
you lived eerily similar games, Stimmer, when Jackson took the huge mark at the top of the square. There's 57,000 in purple. What did you feel? Did you feel like you'd fired your best shot, or did you think, OK, we're about to be really tested the resolve here?
Yeah, well, it was sort of good it went back to centre bounce, because centre bounce, once again, is something we're relatively strong at. But it was a hell of a mark by Jackson, to be honest. It was, Mac had a good fist on it, and I think Bodie Ulam was thereabouts as well. So it was just one of those moments that he played particularly well. And look, the next centre bounce was going to be crucial, and getting the ball forward from that, and obviously getting our structure right as well. So there's a lot of things. It's funny, in the last 2.5 minutes of the game, people often look at it and think what's going on, but the conversation piece is in the coach's box. It's in overdrive at that stage, and you feel like you just coached a quarter in the last 2.5 minutes. But the guys, to their credit, Noah and his leadership team did a hell of a job getting things organised, because the runner can't go on the ground the last 2 minutes. So you really do hand it over to your leadership group, and they did a terrific job.
This might sound a stupid question. How have they handled the win? How have you looked at it? How have they travelled back? How do you think? Because our question to you last Monday was, how do you say that this is not enough, just making the finals after 15 years? And now it's the same thing. How do you get them back and say one win's not enough when the rest of us are all sitting there going, that's just extraordinary?
No, it's a good thing. We spoke to the players. Obviously, a lot of our families were over, so we wanted to enjoy the win. They're hard to do in finals, as we've spoken about, or in AFL in general. But then the next day, obviously, we stayed the night in Perth and got our flight back, and we just spoke about, be where your feet are. All we can do now is focus on our next shift mentality, which is the Brisbane Lions, and prepare for them. And, obviously it was a player's day off today, so coaches got to work and are working on how we'll bring about the downfall of the Lions. And, the great thing about the Lions sort of thing is they play a style of game that is incredibly structured, but incredibly good. They're well coached, they're well drilled. They're very predictable in how they play, but they're just so good at what they do. Look, obviously Geelong had a template that, helped them beat them on the weekend, but it's going to be a hell of a challenge for us up there at the Gabba.
Cal Shadir, what did the scan show today?
Yeah, not not great. So he will be unavailable this week, and the medical guys sort of say, come grand final, you could have a difficult discussion, but certainly won't be available this week. So most of the focus goes into Friday night for us. So Kerrish will not be able to help us on field, but he'll still be part of what we're doing and preparation and making sure that he can help us with his off field.
So the VFL becomes important. That was thrilling in its own right.
Yeah.
So Mitch Lewis did, I guess, what you would have hoped he would?
Yeah, so they had a shot as the siren went to stay alive. So that was a fantastic performance. We had a great day. The AFLW won as well, so we had a 3 from 3 day. So Mitch played really well, kicked 4, and had a fair bit of impact on the game. So we'll have some discussions the next couple of days on selection, and it takes a squad. It's very rare that anyone goes in unchanged through all their finals, and that'll be one forced at least.
Takes a big squad, big supporter base. Prime Minister's there with you, slapping your back, giving you some tips. How was Big Elbow after the game?
I actually didn't realise he was there, and I thought, oh, wow, the AFL's really upped the security. There was all this security, and they were very well dressed and very intimidating-looking characters. I'm thinking, oh, they're really looking after us here. And then I saw Elbow there, and I thought, oh, that makes a fair bit of sense. But he's come along to a few games now, and Hawks fan, and he had his son there who was getting selfies and photos with the players, and good to have high-profile support.
It is. Has he got a favourite?
I have asked him a couple of times. He won't give it away. I feel like he likes the Rascal Pack. I think he likes Wizard and Ginnivan.
Get him a Wizard hat. See if you wear that.
McDonald, all those boys.
Sam Mitchell and Damien Hardwick, they've won their elimination finals. We'll cast an eye toward the semis with them next. And in a few minutes' time, on the couch, the big opinions as to how it all happened in the first week of finals. Jack and the crew. These are semis that have had the full set in the build-up, so 2 meetings between each of these pairs. The Lions won the first Q clash, and that freezing night in Launceston, the Hawks late over the Crows. Then coming back through, Gold Coast exacted revenge on Big Brother with a thumping 11-goal win at People's First, which left a big impression. And then in round 21, it's in the best 3 games of the season, this. They'll come together again. Adelaide prevailed at Adelaide Oval. We're going to get it again on Friday night. So peculiar and excellent. So much recent data to work with. Sam, what does that mean for you as you go about preparing for a foe who's pretty familiar?
We've played them twice this year, and both, different sorts of games. One obviously was freezing cold, and then we didn't handle the Adelaide. I think both teams have played pretty well against each other. We'll look at those, but you also look at the recent form, and I think the Oppo scouting is a little bit easier this week because we played them not too long ago, and they finished on top of the ladder, won more games than anyone. So we're going to have to be at our best.
That was the 5 goals to 1 game at quarter time. Will Day was going nuts until he hurt himself.
Yeah. So Will was great early, and I think we were in front at 3/4 time, and they just got us at the end. But they were very, very good. I think we handled the last quarter not too bad, but just not. We just couldn't go with them right at the end.
Dimmo, good to have plenty of recent form to work with.
Yeah, it is. I think it's one good thing about what finals is like. You've sort of got most of your prep and all that organised, you're just ticking things off that they're doing them the same. So, look, obviously we've done a fair bit of work on this side over the last couple of weeks, and hopefully it plays dividends come Saturday night. Is the pink polo a sign of what you'll be wearing on Saturday night? Yes, we're donning the pink, which is great. So it's a beautiful jumper, and one our fans love as well. So look, we'll wear that, and hopefully our fans can wear pink to the game as well. I think it's a sellout again, which is enormous for Queensland footy, and we'll have hopefully in excess of 10,000 fans there as well, which is a real positive for our footy club. It shows that we're growing, and more importantly, people want to come and watch us play, which is exciting. How big is it for the state, do you sense? Oh, I think it's enormous. Like, we're sort of... It's probably, Brisbane is a side that has consistently made finals and won premierships, and now there's a side that is, has come from a low base, but has started to build into something that I think can be pretty special. And it's probably the first time we're going to meet on the bigger of big stages, if that makes sense. So, all the other expansion teams and rivalries have met, and we haven't met in finals. So this will be our first occasion, and hopefully we do it justice and do it proud, and look forward to the state of Queensland getting behind both teams.
focus of the entire AFL footy world on Queensland, on 2 Queensland teams. I think it's awesome. What about umpiring here? Freeze off the footy. What's your flinch reaction?
I say the same thing every time. I'll worry about our players made plenty of clangers on the weekend, and I'll be pretty focused on fixing up those ones.
You try Dimmer, he's more likely to bite.
Flopping a problem, Dimmer, in our game?
I knew.
No, they're doing a good job.
What about the flopping side of things? Do we have Is there a worry that if we pay too many of these off the ball, it does give players a licence to try their luck?
Oh, look, I think there's always going to be a 20% with that. We probably saw a few too many lately. You know, our Mac Andrews sort of had one against him a couple of weeks ago. And I think the umpires are pretty good at telling players to get up. They've got a really good understanding. Their job's really, really hard. So, you know, we'd sort of implore our players as best we can, boys, just stand up and play the game. You know, we don't want to bring the game about, you know, down with those sort of free kicks. It's challenging, we understand, and it's a volatile environment, but the umpire's job's hard enough as it is. So, you know, if we can stand up, and it'd be good.
Will you talk to your players about that?
No.
Fair enough. Short and sharp, yeah.
You can't ask for more than that.
Cards close to the chest on my left. You want to ask Dimmer? You have another crack?
No, that's fine. Hey, Sam Edmonds reporting tonight that Greg Swan's determined to bring in the last disposal out of bounds rule next year, which I don't think would be a surprise to either of you. Do you have a view on, are you a yes or a no?
Oh, my first instinct is no, I think. But I'm not sure how much it'll change. So I don't know if that's going to get rid of 10 throw-ins a game or 1 or 2. So the thing I think I love about our game is that you can be, you know, the wizard and be 5'2", or you can be, you know, Ned Reeves and be 7 foot. And I think keeping both body shapes and all the body shapes in between in the game is really important. So I think it's important that they keep ruckman in the game, and we want all those really tall lads to be still playing our game going forward.
What do you think, Dimmer?
Yeah, probably the same as Mitch. It's a good point that Mitch made, and probably on the data that we were given by the AFL, we think there might be around 4 or 5 a game, which does seem quite low. But you know, obviously they've got the data to back that up. So as long as it's not a significant change into the way the game looks, I think I can live with it. But I'm probably a little bit with Mitch. I don't think the game needs that drastic a change, but you know, proof will be in the pudding.
All right. I think we have an offer. You win, you stay on. It's like pool. Win again, Dimmer. We'll have you back next Monday.
Oh, really? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say that.
You go over the moon if you're back here next Monday.
Good luck. We'll see you Saturday night. Sam, see you Friday night. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, I hope to see you next week.
In a short week, we really appreciate it. Sam Mitchell and Damien Hardwick with us. Coaches Night on 360. Big project tomorrow night for Razor's Edge. Not only what happened, but how did we get here and how do we get out of it from here? So Ray Chamberlain, special edition of Razor's Edge, timely to come together tomorrow night.
NAB Goal of the Year nominees.
These are our finalists, Gaz, to choose between. Will Ashcroft's with the amazing bumper.
It's a modern day version.
Sam, yes, he's won it once before, Will.
Imaginative.
Sam Flanders. Worked the angles there. It was pretty amazing.
Clever. I'm not sure if it's getting my vote. Liked it. Clever, though. What's the last one?
Well, it's Noah Anderson. So you roll in the moment, game on the line, and the action. If you take this as a whole package, this is a pretty fine goal.
Match winner? Game winner?
Yeah.
That's going to take some tossing. The first one was audacious. That might take some tossing.
The winner of the 2025 NAB Goal of the Year walks away with $50,000. NAB will donate a further $10,000 to the Community Footy Club that they represent. Noah's the Hawthorn Citizens, Will is the St Kilda City Junior Football Club, and Sam is Fish Creek. So it's all up for grabs there. Good on you, Gaz.
Great night.
Dwayno's going to be here tomorrow night.
Hi.
Something a little special. We'll share that with you then. Let's head on the couch.
Welcome on the couch. The first week of the finals has been run and won. Only 6 teams remain for the chance to lift the cup on that last Saturday in September. Plenty of winners from the weekend, and every game from here, boys, is win or go home. It was a great week of finals, and the boys are looking forward to dissecting it right here on the couch. Well, let's start with the road to glory, boys, and it was a glorious win for a couple of teams on the weekend, but you look at that, and that's how it pans out if you want to get there to the grand final and ultimately, Geordie, win the cup.
Yeah, well, Collingwood and Geelong have obviously skipped this week, so that's the easiest way home. So they'll be sitting back, resting up, and having a solid session on the Saturday, I would imagine. But just seeing who comes their way and hoping that there's a few injuries that might enhance their chances.
It was a good weekend of footy, wasn't it? I think the AFL will be wrapped. They get 2 preliminary finals at the MCG, but they've had a final in every state. Or they will have had a final in every state. So it's good for the national competition. It was a great weekend of footy. Obviously, Geelong clearly won against the Lions, but good, hotly contested games.
A couple of hardened finals winners in the qualifying finals, and a couple of teams that want to prove that they can do that in the elimination finals. It was a fair effort.
Let's wind it all the way back to Thursday night, boys, and it was a huge game and a replay of a game that we saw 3 weeks ago with plenty of spice in the first outing and plenty of spice in the second outing. But Bucks, the Magpies, they were coming into the finals 2-5. Their form didn't say they could be a challenger, but they have come out of this and will be their prelim final.
Yeah, I think the performance against Adelaide 3 weeks ago sort of gave us a window into the possibility of what we saw at Adelaide Oval on Thursday night. They were able to ramp their pressure up. De Goey with a couple more games under his belt and did enough to be able to challenge a side that looked impregnable at times through the home and away.
It's got a little bit of a look to Goey, same as Dangerfield in 2022. It's sort of timed it perfectly. They've just got him red hot. And his fitness is primed up for September.
He's given them something to go. He's certainly in the middle of the ground, but they were an impenetrable wall, Geordie, Collingwood, and it was on repeat as well. Yeah, they got the game set up the way that they want to, and it was I think a coaching masterclass in a sense that they didn't accept that they were going to equalise 4 to the ball. So this vision will show that they were happy with 5 forwards ahead of the ball for themselves, which gave them space and the ability to move. But certainly in their defence, they wanted 7 defenders nearly all the time, and quite often it was either Frampton on this occasion or Darcy Moore on occasions here. And the way they got this was either through a winger engaging the high half forward from Adelaide, which meant that there was natural drop-off. But the other thing that I liked is not only is it stable defensively, so imagine trying to get through that. You ain't getting any run-back goals that Adelaide like to get through a defence. So Quaynor is the deepest numerical. Watch when they win the ball. This is to the open side, and because there's so much space between the stoppage and the spare, it means that spare can get involved on offence. If you have a high spare on occasions with Adelaide, which Adelaide did, if that spare then gets the ball, he's consumed by congestion. I think quite often they had the spare defender, and he was able to be stable in terms of the drop-off, but certainly on offence he was able to be aggressive. You mentioned Darcy Moore. It was an incredible game by the Collingwood captain. 9 intercepts, which is the most ever in a final. He single-handedly stopped Adelaide's score in the first half. Yeah, 9 intercept marks. They had 28. They had 12 in the first quarter. So when you're looking for positive signs on the road and you've set the game up the way that you want to set them up, and then he has a game, and I was really impressed because early on he took an intercept mark and went for a switch kick and it didn't turn out, and the Adelaide boys came for it. And they got a goal out of that, Adelaide. They got a goal, so Dawson got the goal out of that one, but then he was able to settle.
He lost that contest against Tex Walker. Before that, so he's in some ways responsible in some ways for the first 2 goals, but was able to centre himself and stay focused.
So we'll talk about captain's game in the other games, but could you imagine what that does to the group when your captain has made a boo-boo, but then backs it up with some really good contest work? Especially when you dial up the fact that there's no Jeremy Howe, and we've been on about the fact that without Howe, they are statistically a 2-goal worse side defensively, and the pressure has been on Darcy Moore. He's single-handedly affected more than anyone else because Jeremy Howe's not out there.
But that shows you how coaching and structure can fix that. So if you don't have Jeremy Howe, OK, how are we going to shore up our back? And it gives a Darcy Moore more confidence to go for his marks, because if it comes to ground, you've got the extra number there somehow. Did you guys play with that a bit, didn't you? Called it the nude?
We'd play nude. That would be Alex Rance, who would play behind the ball.
The 1v none behind the ball.
They came for us, did it?
Mate,
Stealing it.
how can Matthew Nix let this happen so long and not change the offensive structure for Adelaide?
Is there an element of, I saw Brisbane their first final series in 2019, lose a game against GWS by a point, and all they did is kept kicking it down the line. Now, clearly that wasn't the plan going in, but is it a case of going into finals and getting a bit starstruck and feeling not starstruck, but overawed and feeling the pressure and just not seeing the rest of the field?
Offensively, you can see there. That is, I think, Brownie, you've hit the nail on the head there. You factor in everything that happened for Adelaide. The first time they played finals since 2017. Tex Walker's 300th. They just played Collingwood, and there was a fair bit of fallout from that too. That was a huge game on the weekend.
Well, Collingwood haven't shown that +1 as heavily as they did that night. So even an Adelaide ball carrier looks up and he's seeing something that they haven't seen against Collingwood before. It probably hasn't been coached through the week. So you try and make adjustments. But the Adelaide's first adjustment would have been, let's use our extra and run and carry. But then Collingwood's pressure was elite as well. So the pressure game goes hand in hand with the intercept game. And it worked for that structure and in offence as well.
Oh, I think you're exactly right. So you can have a spare at either end, but it is what you do within the stoppage. So Collingwood from stoppage kicked 42% of the time, handballed 55% of the time. So that was their third highest by hand out of stoppage to combat what Adelaide were giving them, where it was the opposite. When Adelaide got the ball, they were able to dump it, which meant that they were able to impact in the
2.5 kicks per handball, Adelaide. It was clear to see. I want to talk one of the big talking points coming into the game was the weapon that they had in the forward line. They've got a lot of them, but the big weapon they had in the forward line was Riley Thilthorpe-Brownie. He was potentially going to play on Darcy Moore, and you come away and you look at the champion ratings, go, well, highest rated player on the ground, but his actual impact in where we think he needs to earn his money in the air was down. Didn't have a
critical contest to call him, Jack. No doubt about it. And you're involved in it, but these are the ones. Look, that's disappointing. You're not going to like watching that footage.
Yeah, and look, these are the sort of the ones where you go, oh. In a big final, he's had moments. This is a moment late to get him back into the game, and he handballs there. He's got an open goal to go in and kick to it. I felt like the game got to Riley maybe.
How do you review that then?
Honestly, honestly, I think Riley. If it was me, I'd walk in and go, you know what? There's three that I.
That hasn't been a pattern. So
it's not a pattern, and also with the double chance, Brownie, they get a chance to come back and go again, but he importantly gets a chance.
Comes back to sorry. How would you coach that though?
Well, you put it on the table, and then you rely on
for everyone or just the player.
No, I think just the player. And you rely on the player to respond. I mean, we all know that.
So you don't think it's a Robert Walls situation where you're rewinding that in front of the group several times?
It depends on Matthew Nix's read of Riley Thilthorpe and where he stands in the group. Because in the end, not so where he stands, but how he would handle it. Yeah. What's going to get him to bristle? To be able to fight back. It might be just enough. He might already have seen those edits in his own tape and gone, well, maybe the Hawthorn are going to watch out with who ends up rolling out. But he will be up against Barras and Battle and potentially Weddle that's coming across, so it's not going to be any easier. But, he'll definitely want to respond, given, as we just said, the reputations are made in finals.
It's disappointing because presence is what you need from key forwards in finals, so that's not presence. But I'm sure he'll fight back. He looks to me like he's got character. The challenging thing for me, for Adelaide, was obviously the three most important players, Jack. One sitting in the grandstand.
Isaac Rankin.
Dawson, the captain, was kept, Isaac Rankin, of course. Dawson was kept below his usual standard, and then Thilthorpe turns in a performance like that. So it makes it really hard. And if we want to go to the midfield, let's just go to the old paper test, the old name test, put them side by side. This is the most concerning thing for me. So, yes, Rankin's not in there, but I put those names on the whiteboard in front of me. I go, how does Adelaide compete?
How many ticks do you see from Adelaide in that game the other night? Well, I reckon there's one. I reckon Rory Laird, who hadn't played midfield all year, hadn't attended centre bounce. Yeah. They had to throw him in there. He's probably the only tick out of that game.
Well, that's right, but he might be offset by De Goey. He might be offset by Pendlebury. He might be offset by Long. So you just don't know. But look at those names. Houston playing all the games on the wing now, which has been a good move by Collingwood structurally as well. So I look at that, and that's a massive concern for me, the Adelaide Crows. Like, that's not a premiership midfield. Right there. Now, I'm happy to be proven wrong in 3 weeks' time, but I can't see that midfield holding up a premiership cup, especially without Isaac Rankin.
How important's Dawson there then? Because he's the star. No Rankin, obviously, as well, but he's the star, and he had a flat one as well.
Do you think, not to look ahead too much, but they play Hawthorn, and Sam Mitchell would have to be looking at that. Like, he's not a big tagging coach, but you have to be thinking, right, if we clamp Dawson, how else are they going to beat
You'd
us?
sit Warple on him. Yeah, I think it's the same conversation with a few midfields in the competition. Brisbane's got depth; they haven't got depth anymore. So then, what do you look at? We saw Geelong go to some players and completely shut them out of the game, and how long that goes into winning the game. So yeah, it does seem like at the moment, if it's not Dawson, there's a bit of a gap to the next.
Well, projecting forward, if you were to do that with Adelaide and Hawthorn's midfield, do you think that wouldn't be too much
Similar?
different, would it?
Yeah.
I think they look like they've got similar depth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they've been able to support really well on the edges, I guess. And look, Newcomb play. If Newcomb keeps playing the way he does, well, they're going to be hard to beat.
We'll get into some John Newcomb stuff later. He's becoming Mr. September, but a man that won't be there unless they get to the last Saturday in September is Isaac Rankin, and he would be sitting in that midfield rank, Brownie, but he'd also be sitting in the forward 50 rank. And at the moment, they are a completely different side, especially at forward 50 stoppage. You see there, 19 points when Rankin played, and they're the two sample sizes that we've seen. And glaringly in that game against Collingwood, they had no movement whatsoever.
It takes
at
away
forward
one
50.
of your greatest strengths, isn't it? And that's not normally a heavy scoring area of the ground, is it, from forward 50 stoppages? So 19's a big number.
And you don't need to go far back to look at his performance against Hawthorn to see him impact on the scoreboard in forward 50, and was potentially the difference in that game. So he's not going to be there for that.
I wonder how much the week. I mean, they will know internally, or the 2 weeks leading into this game had sucked the energy out of the group. I mean, because you can understand a smaller two-team town, only one team now, the media circus around it and how much that consumed the Adelaide playing group, and maybe that contributed to a relatively flat performance on the weekend.
Well, there's plenty of talking points in September, and injuries is certainly one of them. We've spoken about Isaac Rankin, and John Ralph has the latest on Josh Rochelle. Is Josh Rochelle a chance of filling that void of Isaac Rankin?
Absolutely he is, Jack. So Adelaide holds its main training session tomorrow night at Adelaide Oval. If he trains the house down, he's a real chance to come into this team. So 10 weeks ago, he had knee capsule surgery, the same issue there as Sam Darcy. He has been running for only 2 weeks. He did some training last week. He was not available for the SNFL game on Sunday, in which the SNFL side lost. So it is such a short runway, but with so many of their players really disappointing, there is absolutely a groundswell to try and get him into this team. We'll know in a couple of days. Cal Shadiri's out of that semi-final with a mild hamstring issue. Sam Mitchell has just told AFL 360 he would not be available for a preliminary final. So the great story there is Mitch Lewis, who will come back in, you'd imagine, for his first AFL final in 8 seasons. Collingwood is genuinely open to the prospect of Bobby Hill playing in a preliminary final as the sub. They were thrilled that he pulled out of a sportsman's night on Friday night down in Tasmania. Instead, he signed up for the scratch match. 4 goals there in admittedly, lukewarm circumstances. So he cannot put a single foot wrong. They train on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. They have told him that he needs a flawless fortnight. And even then, it's not up to him. They still might not select him. A massive part of that decision will come down to the leadership group, which is led by Darcy Moore. At Brisbane, Oscar McInerney is seriously being considered to replace Sam Day, who had a single effective kick against Geelong. The club has not been able to trust McInerney's back. He's had multiple epidurals and other issues, but he's finally put together 4 senior VFL games since being dropped, albeit for that Gold Coast game in which he had only 3 possessions. So he was a non-factor that clash, and he's not the only answer, but you'd imagine that Ty Gallop and Sam Day aren't the answer either. Brownie, you've been hot on this for a while. I get the feeling you'd play Oscar McInerney.
I think so, yeah, Ralphie. Yeah, he's back in good form in the reserves. He's played some good football. He's obviously his back issues throughout the season. That's why he hasn't been playing. But against Jared Wicks, one of the premier ruckman and a big physical ruckman, they need McInerney and Ford, I think.
Were you surprised that he didn't play this weekend?
I was.
He was fit.
I was, yeah.
And they're so young now. Not just forward of the ball, but they're so young everywhere.
And McInerney's capable ahead of the ball. He's a good set shot. He creates a good contest, and Day just hasn't been able to find the AFL speed again.
What ruck split would you use?
I'd probably edge it still to Fort, probably 60-40.
Right.
Because I still think McInerney's the more capable forward, even though Fort's capable of kicking goals. So, anyway...
A little bit what you were talking about. I mean, Sam Day wasn't the worst. There was a lot of Lions players that underperformed on the night in terms of ratings, and that's only compared to the rest of the players.
Well, I guess well, he's battling. He was back in. You thought he was back in a bit of form, but he struggled. I think he's really missed Jay Dano. We asked the question at the start of the year, or the question was posed, wasn't it? We won't know the answer to the Lions' issues until September. No Dano question, and that's a big problem out of the ball because essentially those boys are flankers. or smaller players or young key forward players. So it is an issue, especially when you get heat up the field like Geelong put on, and then you start having to kick that long ball in.
We won't see Eric Hipwood again this season. Well, he's been ruled out for the rest of the season. Speed of ball has become... It was a weapon for Brisbane, and it was a weapon against Geelong in round 15, but then that got absolutely quelled from the Cats.
Yeah, well, maybe they showed their hand a little bit early, but this is round 15, as you can see, AFL average being 100. So the distance and the time and the aggressive nature in which they moved the ball, especially out of their halfback Brisbane, was on. It was a changing game style that they adopted, and they continued that on right through the end of the season. It was direct. So we've shown vision before of Zorko getting the ball and just going bang straight past the man on the mark and being direct. That was taken away, and it was a defensive masterclass from the Geelong Football Club, either ahead of the ball or behind. So these are the numbers once again: the speed of the ball movement, but the distance and the direct nature in which they went towards goal fell right away. So 100, 104, 105, way back to 77. So this was a key plan going into the game. And Geelong were brilliant at it. And the way they set it up, so before, you've got to watch the kicker with the eyes and you've got to watch the players coming past. So Stengel right onto it. He knows the dangerous space is lateral to the man on the mark, and that they want to use that from run from behind. So you've got to watch that. You've got to catch them coming through. Once again, look at this danger field. This is chasing out. So clearing out of your forward 50 to help apply pressure up the field, because you know they want to run and gun. You can't be sitting back on your heels inside the forward 50. Once again, watch the kicker's eyes. Understand where he wants to go. Dangerfield, bang. Absolutely, they were on their toes. We mentioned it in the first quarter. You could just see they were on right here. They want to go to this, Wilmot. Watch Bose. He's watching the kicker's eyes, ready to come forward. Bang, another turnover. So they know that they want speed on the ball. They wanted to go direct in a line to goal, and they were onto it. So in terms of the coaches being pleased with the way that his team moved the ball in offence, absolutely, but you'd be more pleased by how they defended.
They've zoned, probably been the heaviest zoning side in the competition, and they were just on their toes. It seemed to me that the forwards were set a task to be really on their toes and cut off as much as they can. They'd set their layers and they came forward to put pressure on. In that round 15 game against the Lions down at GMHBA, their pressure was only 158 in the attacking mid. Last night or this weekend it was 196. So they just ramped up their pressure across Brisbane's preferred scoring zone, which is from halfback. They just couldn't get any time or space. And invariably we saw them when they cut it off there and went back and scored from it. If it wasn't that, then it was a dump kick or a less organised bit of rebound that the Lions have been accustomed to, and the forwards have been as well.
You can tell how they spent their fortnight training. They drilled up. It was really sharp. They're on their toes, like you said, during the call. The other one was too, they got the matchups right. So they went to work on Brisbane. Clearly, Hugh McCluggage is the most dynamic and impactful midfielder. So look at this season lows for all those critical numbers. 14 disposed.
I know there's a lot of tape on his
a lot of tape on his knee. There's no doubt he's carrying something. It certainly hampered him. Take nothing away from Shane Mullen, but the critical ones are score involvement. So when he has 8+ score involvements, they just win, hands down. And he's a great forward half midfielder, only 1 score involvement. So the Irish experiment worked, because I thought also O'Connor and Rayner was the right matchup.
Well, they were old school tags, weren't they? But the other one's the flow-on effect. So Charlie Cameron's not quite right. And Geelong aren't as threatened by him, because we're going to put mass pressure on. We don't think we're going to have to worry about him out the back here. So his opponent in Mullen from earlier in the year now gets assigned elsewhere. So it's a double double win for the Cats.
Chris Scott is the king of the coaching masterclass and the king of making positions that maybe don't seem super valuable, really valuable. And the wing position this year especially has become an absolute weapon for Geelong. And Ollie Dempsey, well, he's the king of the wing.
Well, it seems like he's got a licence to be more aggressive than... I mean, he does get back and help defensively. That's part of the role. But you just see there, 25 disposals, 3 goals and 2 score assists in a final. So only the 6th Geelong player on record to do that with the stars that have gone through that particular organisation. But I just love the way that he played it. And he's probably done it a few times this year, but it's an absolute wing masterclass. So this is young Levi Ashcroft. And so they started pretty much shoulder to shoulder. And you can just see the nature in which he's able to go forward and really challenge. I thought the way that Brisbane defended it, and quite often it was wing on wing, and then when there was a secondary stoppage, a half forward would come off and Berry would roll around. But once again, he's on Berry. If Berry gets it, he's in a position to strike. Now this is all about anticipating the turnover. It is gone, so he will hold his width to stop Brisbane coming to the open side, essentially, initially. But then once he realises he's a chance to get goal side of his direct opponent, he challenges you, and challenges you really quickly. And on this occasion, it was a brilliant goal. But if you want to come into the competition and you want to play wing, watch him.
They might have the best off-ball runners and off-ball players in the competition. Just before half-time, Bucks, in this game, there was a couple of dubious free kicks to Cam Rayner. Off-the-ball incidents, Tyson Stengel at the other end of the ground having a shot. And we go all the way back up to the other end. You can see here Stengel lining up for what was a pretty important goal. And we go right to the other goal line, Bucks, and Cam Rayner, in this incident here, gets a free kick.
Yeah, I'm surprised you noticed that. The crowd were going absolutely trop over it. Oh, it was. Like, it was a...
And here's the follow-up one.
It was... And that, look, that was silly by Guthrie. I mean, that's there. You can't not pay that. But I thought we had this vision sort of coming in directly after halftime. So the Cats players have just walked in. They're about to do their line meetings. But, I mean, this is good coaching. It's common sense too, because you want to get your players back focused on what they can control and just to check in to take them away from any emotive reaction that had just taken place. Sometimes you can walk into a situation like that and know, oh, it's already sorted. It's already done. But you'll have a quick word and you'll get a sense in the eyes that, oh, no, they're not rolling the back of their heads and they know exactly, they've already handled that, they've already accepted it and they're ready to move on. But it was instructive, and Chris Scott did say after the game, the thing he was most impressed with was the composure from the team after facing a period like that, and I suppose the setback of having dominated that first half and not having the gap on the scoreboard that they could have had. But then they just continued on their merry way.
So what to the free kicks then, Bucks? Because it looked like it peeved you on the broadcast.
I reckon there was many that it didn't. Like that one, that
even
was
as
clearly
a
not there.
How disappointed would the AFL be that when they see two free kicks like that in a huge game of footy that aren't there?
Yeah, well, very disappointed. I made the point it's a final. You don't want that paid in any game, but this is, it's not an elimination final, but it's do or die. Like, there's a lot of work that's gone into this, and you're not going to get no perfect players, no perfect coaches, no perfect umpires. There's going to be mistakes, but you just want to omit the howlers. And that one, Stengel has a shot on goal. It comes 150 metres, and then you end up with a double goal off the back of it. That's a 3-goal swing. Now, the Cats were able to do what they needed to do, which, as we said, showed composure, but it wasn't about the individual ump, it was just the moment, and I didn't think it clearly wasn't ideal.
They dodged the bullet. That it didn't affect the result. Yeah, because imagine we'd be talking about that for the whole week if that was a close loss by the Cats.
It's certainly going to be a big talking point. Well, it is a big talking point, and a big talking point will be the Q Clash this Saturday night. A huge semi-final. This is version 3 for 2025. One apiece leading into Saturday night, and certainly the Lions will be licking their wounds. Can they take down the plucky Suns after winning the West?
You happy with that one?
So proud of them all, the whole team. They are freaking enormous because I was so scared. Fremantle played so well too. It was such a ripper game, but oh my God, I would have died if we hadn't won. And what about Dave Swallow? What a freaking legend.
He's bled for this club and he stands up in their biggest moment.
There's the whole club. There's so many people. When they come up here, I mean, you let your kid go when he's a baby. It's a family now. They've grown up here. We miss them, but we love what they're doing. Like, look at her. She's crying. She's crying. That's how much it means. Noah and...
Why are you crying?
Have been, because I'm so freaking excited. And we've got Q Clash next week. Whoa.
Well, that is what footy is all about. And if you wanted to get excited about the semi-final Q Clash next week, Mrs. Rao just did it for us.
Very good. You're exactly right, Kath. That is what footy is all about. Take a bow, Louise Rao. That was fantastic. Bucks, well done there on the mic too. You got it fired up.
I think she ran the show on her own, mate. I mean, she didn't need any winding up, but she was tapping her son on the chest, like giving him that one, like heart, like
proud mum.
That's how he got solid.
They've embraced it as well. I've seen a few play-ons who took Miller's dad getting involved, and they had the T-shirts with the taglines on it as well. It really is turning into the family club up there under Damien Hardwick.
For footy up there. Yeah,
it is.
It's good. I'm happy my daughter's in the academy because she's a member of the Suns, which gives us greater access to tickets. Because I tell you what, they've come out of the woodwork. Yeah, there's only 30,000 seats at the Gabba.
It's going to be wound up this week.
Yeah, it will be huge.
Well, let's talk about the game that the Gold Coast won, the elimination final there over against Fremantle. And we knew going into the game from a Gold Coast point of view that Rowell and Anderson were the keys to the city and the keys to going back to the Gabba playing in a Q clash, and they both fired.
It just says there, 30-plus disposals, 10 scoring involvements and final across the last 10 years. So the issue, I think, was that Wagner being out, they didn't really have a lockdown player. So, and maybe rightly so, they backed in their midfielders in Brayshaw and Sarong. But these boys, and we obviously spoke to Matty Rowell, and a lot's been made of it. And I was probably one that pigeonholed him into being an inside mid. But geez, he's gone to work on his game. He was interviewed this morning on radio and just taken ownership of his performance. And so you look at the leadership of this football club under those two boys. They're going to go places, and they stood up in a big game, which gives them confidence going back to the Gabba.
I can't believe his transformation as an athlete. He had 11 inside 50s on the weekend. Like, he was a good inside player, yeah, but we never saw that outside surge running.
No, we stood next to him, didn't we? And after we said it's amazing how sort of slim he is, but how hard.
And granite, yeah. And that's the secret. Granite. No, but to be able to go away. And like he had some injuries in that sort of period, but to go away and to continue to work, he had to set himself for that, no doubt. Would have changed his diet, would have changed how he trained, would have had to bring on the trainers and the conditioning staff to work out how it went. But in the final moments, like, he was as prevalent as any. But that the way that the Suns handled that, as we look at this vision, we see clearly Luke Jackson finishes this to go 6 point up, and the Fremantle runner says to Tracy, at centre bounce, you're behind. So we're now going in to close the game down as far as Freo concerned.
3.5 minutes to go.
3.5. So it's 3.5 minutes that now Mac Andrew has sent back to equalise with Josh Tracy.
Patrick Voss doesn't go.
No, and that's instructive. So whether they wanted... I thought, let's keep going here. That intercept mark from Cox was great. Got to hit that one with Brayshaw here. Because as soon as you head out to wide, it's still 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. And if you stop it here, have a look at the Fremantle players. There's no movement. There's no look to find the next uncontested mark. It's only going one place. And it's going one place to a contest that Brodie Hewlin ends up winning.
So who's in the box seat here, though, with the matchup between Tracy and Andrew?
Well, in the end, I suppose Andrew's used to playing forward, and Tracy hasn't been exposed this much, and he gets done. He gets on the back foot. That's as easy as you can imagine a contest being won in the last couple of minutes.
Well, you think Rowell and Anderson in the middle. This is the last centre bounce. This ball here is the most critical ball to win. It's looking like it's going to be a ball up, but the extraction here from Davies, and you mentioned Rowell on the outside. This is the moment that won it for the Suns. They were the ones that got the opportunity to get the ball ahead. Then there's the free kick here to David Swallow, who came on as a sub. We know he's retiring. And you go back and he kicks what we believe to be a goal, but then obviously is a point. But Alex Davies and his evolution behind the two superstars has been something that I think sort of gone under the radar.
He was the highest rated player in the first quarter on the ground, and I think.
He's looking after Hayden Young.
He was looking after Hayden Young, yeah, absolutely. So, but once again, when you stand next to him, he's a big lad. So, in terms of those tall midfielders, like
Josh Dunkley,
like a Dawson or someone like that, he's a man to allow Rowell and Anderson to go and hunt. Even with that last one, Long holds down Pearce. So, yeah, Mac Andrew marks the ball, but the other role players in and around that also did their job.
Well, it was a big shot to finish the game there from David Swallow, and we saw some amazing footage from the AFL where you could see it touched on the line, and certainly, Ralphie, that's an investment that the AFL have got. and it's looked like it's paid dividends already.
Yeah, it certainly has. That David Swallow overrule from the ARC, the third umpire, was only made possible because of new super slow-mo technology which was brought in by the AFL for Thursday's games onwards. Amazing. It's a high-definition camera used by the ARC. It is paid for by the AFL and it follows only the ball. As you can see here, it is chalk and cheese. It is so much sharper given an exceptionally high frame rate. The normal cameras are spectacular for Fox Footy, but not as amazing for the replays there. And so the AFL truly believes that if this new technology was not brought in, they might not have been able to overrule it. Now, thankfully, it was always going to be a point at least, which would have resulted in that win for Gold Coast. But it might well be the difference in a grand final between an overrule that might cost or give one club an AFL grand final. So let's face it, on a weekend where the AFL umpires didn't cover themselves with glory, I think this is a massive tick for the AFL and its investment into the game.
Certainly is a big investment there, Ralphie, and one that had a big impact on that game. It worked in the Suns' favour that it was a point in the end rather than a goal, because Fremantle had to take it the whole distance in 9 seconds, which is impossible.
Yeah, and which would have been hard for the players to not acknowledge that. And there were certainly a few players out on the field that tried to tell them to quieten down. Fremantle players tried to tell them to quieten down and not say that it was touched, so they could go back to. So they're the really witty and smart players on the field. But
we'll get to that in the GBU.
But it might help someone win a grand final.
A good investment from the AFL. The Suns' entries, Brownie, obviously no finals experience or very little finals experience for them, but they've got the three-time premiership coach there, and you think he came up with a plan that works well in finals.
Absolutely, and it worked. And quite often you'll see a big run in one of the quarters, and it was the Suns, was the match separation, was the quarter two, 7 goals there. They were dynamic, and I think it was set up on the back of long entries. Now, I didn't see the pre-game interview. I was flying home from this Hawthorn game, Geordie, but I think Dimmer referred to this, the deeper entries, how critical they were. So, yes, they were able to make contests. Freo took quite a few intercept marks on the night, but only one in this critical second quarter where the Suns were able to set up that scoreboard gap.
It's amazing what you think of when you hear stuff like Damien Hardwick coaching that way. This is his Warner Renshaw philosophy. Early in the game...
His what?
His Warner Renshaw. There's this Warner where you can pull more sort of tricky kicks and be a bit more flashy, or there's the Renshaw with the 2 openers for Australia.
Oh, so who are you talking about?
Play the lines. Just play it simple. Get it deep, put it in long.
How many games for Australia did Matt Renshaw open? He's gone early on that one. He's open.
It was a while ago, Brownie.
4 tests.
It was a while ago.
But he's spot on. They were really good. 6 goals, 7 from forward half. So, you know, they set up the game really well on the back of that second quarter.
Yeah, so they did choose to go long, and they'd picked up in the last month that Fremantle were a little bit exposed in that particular area. So that's why, you know, the metrics that pop out, it might...
Do Warner Renshaw's metrics or Dimmer's
clearly,
metrics?
that's exactly what it must be.
He's a themer. He's a great themer.
Now that I know what it means.
A big theme for this week.
Did you like the themes when you went to the themes?
I love the themes,
lover?
and I can tell you what, coming into the Q Clash this week, there is going to be a phonetic theme. No doubt it'll be the Detroit Pistons or something like that. And Touk Miller caught up with the boys post-game and had this to say about the upcoming Q Clash.
Don't get me wrong, didn't want to get too far ahead from tonight's game, but, you know, Brizzy losing last night, you do think ahead for a little bit and you go, geez, how good would it be to go head-to-head in a Q Clash next week, drive up the road and, yeah, try to send them out in straight sets. So I was very much looking forward to that.
Oh, that's a big call, mate.
Oh, well, we know your reaction to it, Bucks. It's a big call. You were there too, Louis. Could just, like, Touk Miller's had a little bit of he's had some blow-ups in Q Clashes. This is going to be feisty, isn't it?
Well, Buck suggested that he and Zorko have the joint press conference on the air.
Like a wave. You can hold the flag and lay out.
Face off just to get things going. But there's no doubt there is some bad blood between these two.
But one thing, like, Touk Miller has always struck me as quite a controlled, organised bloke that doesn't give much away. But that just shows you the emotion of it directly after and what lies underneath. So that reveals the true sort of thoughts about the line.
That's how you build a rivalry.
There's a little bit of niggle in there.
But you speak about flopping and a few of the umpires' contentious calls. You want to have your best 4 umpires on that game because there will be spot fires everywhere.
It's going to be a huge game, the Q Clash, the third one for the season. Let's head to the other elimination final. It was the GWS Giants versus Hawthorn Brownie. And you think that Hawthorn's defence is the best remaining or the best in the competition?
The best in the competition. I was impressed. Just being there live at the ground, you get the full perspective of it. It was a great game of footy. I loved it. Hawthorn deserved to win. They were the better team for the majority. GWS were gallant to get back into it. They conceded 72 inside 50s, which was an amazing performance. So a lot early in the game. But their chemistry and the synergy between the Hawthorn defenders
and their recruiting
is magnificent. Their recruiting's been terrific. So Barras and Battle especially have come in, done a magnificent job. You'll see Hardwick's name highlighted a few times. So just see that on a quick breakaway. I love the way they protect the real danger zone. So this is a re-entry. Ash has it about 70 metres out from goal. They protect the danger zone on the interior, on the inside. Look at that. They just converge on that ball. Sicily gets the intercept mark. You've got pressure at the ball, but then trade-off. So, you know, guys assign the correct role, going to the right GWS player, and then Tom Barras protecting the goal line. Just basics, all these things. And then the final setup, 8 minutes to go. GWS look like they're going to win the game. They're getting on top. Hardwick's playing on Toby Green, but doesn't get sucked and drawn too close to him, gets off. Then they get the intercept and they go back the other way. Sam Butler comes into the side. He was at that stoppage. He runs hard to equalise. This is defence. Gets the free kick, goes back, kicks the goal and squashes the GWS resurgence. So I was really impressed with them, and that's why they can go a long way if they get that part right.
Well, you mentioned Blake Hardwick's name was mentioned there a lot in those clips. He did the job on the captain.
He's amazing. Sam Mitchell must love coaching him, and I can see now why he was given the number 15 after his first 3 years after the great Luke Hodge. He played on Toby Green, but 5 or 6 critical contests in that last 8 minutes of football when GWS had drawn even, he was amazing. So to keep Toby Green, one of the most dynamic and best captains in the game, to only 2 behinds and ineffectual on the day was magnificent performance by him especially.
We've seen the Adelaide midfield earlier on in the program lined up. They're going to line up against a Hawthorn midfield that is being spearheaded by John Newcombe at the moment, who has had patches this year where he's struggled, but he is turning into Mr. September again.
Yeah, he had his, like all players do, he had his niggly injuries that probably didn't allow him to play at 100%, but I think we all know when do you want to play well? You want to play well in September.
You can't play any better.
And certainly make a name for yourself. So he's up there clearly with 3 finals. He's played 3 finals, number 1 rated player on the ground. So the way that he played on the weekend, you were there live. Like he was unbelievable.
He was, and they needed it, didn't it? Like, he just inspirational. He's a big man. He was powerful. He took on all before him, especially Tom Green, who's a big-bodied midfielder there. So he was terrific. The other thing was, too, that stands out in finals, making the most of your opportunities. Now, Hawthorn have been good. Jack Gunston's been amazing in his career. They kicked their first 7 set shots. The all-time record for any team in a final is 8 straight set shots. They kicked 7, so they made the most of the opportunity, and they were able to establish that gap on the scoreboard. It got out to 42 points at one stage.
Who did the Crows send to Newcombe? Oh, this is the set shots, but who did the Crows send to Newcombe?
Well, yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? You know, Peatling's done that job before.
But this speaks to the focus that Hawthorn have always had on good kickers.
Yeah.
Just listening to Talkback Radio this morning, one of the Hawthorn supporters talking about going and seeing the captain's run and seeing how the Hawthorn players were just kicking the ball to one another in warm-up and just clean and crisp. You think it's Scrimshaw, you think it's Sicily, D'Ambrosio, like it's rinse repeat. Left footers that can hit a target extremely well, and it's the history repeated from your era.
Well, they get that opportunity this Friday against the Crows. The Hawthorn is going to be a huge semi-final here at the Adelaide Oval. Adelaide staring down the barrel of a straight sets exit. And this team, Hawthorn, well, they are one of the most exciting teams in the competition. Sets up for a huge semi-final live here on Fox, Friday, 6:30. Welcome back to On the Couch. It's time for the good, the bad and the ugly. And to kick us off for the good, it is me. Big finals. The Gold Coast, their first final. Bailey Smith, a really important player. And this is how you just get... Bailey Humphrey, sorry. This is how you get rid of all the nerves. You go out and you swing the legs with the mascot, and then you go out and have a sensational impact on the game. He was fantastic. You can see there the numbers in the second quarter. It's the 12th best quarter by any player.
It's had a good year, Jake.
In a final on record. Struggled last year, Brownie. I reckon a lot of people compared him to Dusty, and we've mentioned that under the Hardwick regime, but he's become a very, very important player forward of centre for the Gold Coast Suns.
A man that was very important on Friday night was O'Sheen Mullen, the Irishman. Kicked his first goal as well. He was lauded for his effort on Hugh McCluggage, keeping him quiet. But look at that, first goal in his AFL career. I'm sure he would have kicked a few of them on the Gaelic footy field.
The Irish kick around the corner well.
Yeah, they do.
See who flew for that? Jack Henry.
Henry, yeah.
15 metres out from your goal and you're the fullback. That's how they play. Yeah. I've got... I've got Tracy and Rioli. There was a contest on the wing there when the whips were cracking and they both body-lined the ball. I think Tracy got a little bit lower than Rioli, but have a look at this, just a bit of a nod to each other. Yeah, well done.
They both saw after that, weren't they?
Well done, and let's get back to it. So I love the contest. I mean, Rioli, neither of them wanted to lose their feet because they would have given a free kick away. You couldn't put your head over it because, you probably could have gone a little bit lower, but I thought that they both approached it well. I just love the nod to, well done.
Lee's not in the house. What would Lee have said at that moment there?
Get your head and shoulders lower than the opposition.
What's about the accent?
What about the accent?
Well, no, that's the
But he's not here. He's on 360 now.
I'm going to see him at the airport.
Okay, good point.
Behave yourselves.
He's still fried. My goods is paying respect, and we're at this game to Nat Fife, one of the modern day greats, two-time Brownlow medalist. Ironically, he and Dave Swallow were on the same amount of games, and Dave Swallow continues on his AFL journey this year. But this man here, farewell to a Fremantle crowd that no doubt he brought a lot of happiness and a lot of highlights to the people there, and honoured by both teams, both supporter bases, and he's been a future Hall of Famer and an absolute champion of the game.
He spoke fantastically well after the game too about what the game had given him and what Fremantle had given him too. The bad, Geordie.
Nothing. My bad, and it's hard to think in the moment what we would have done, but certainly one player was onto it. So Neil Erasmus touches the ball, and rightly so. He sort of says that he's touched it, but then when you think about it, how hard it would be to go from the goal line to the other end. Alex Pearce is the one with his head switched on. He's like, hey, Neil, shush. Just don't say anything. Let's hope that goes through for a goal, because I'm going onto the wing, and then I'll be in defence in no time.
Wanganeen Miller out of the middle again there.
He was onto it, Pearce.
Well, my bad is some very, very close friendly fire or nearly friendly fire from the Collingwood Adelaide game. Mason Cox came into the side, and that swinging arm, Mason. Wow. We've seen players suspended this year for injuring their own players. So I don't know what the AFL Michael Christian would have done about that if that had collected. You've got to be so careful. Certainly at 210 or whatever centimetres he is. If you swing an arm like that, you're going to clock someone on the head.
You reckon?
If you clock the oppo, you would. I don't know if you clocked the owner.
No, we saw it. Gary Rowan knocked out Jeremy Cameron a couple of years ago. Yeah. So my bad for the same game was Riley O'Brien. Hit out to advantage and then long, and then still side bottom, just a one-step left foot Tory, mind you. But, not ideal. That's a bad one. Riley wouldn't enjoy seeing that.
What's he meant to do? Both arms were grabbed.
Head it back towards the goal.
Back to the
Go back into the feedback.
Danger zone.
They'll be practising
Ty Gallop, the last thing you would have thought about was getting his room ransacked on Friday night.
This is no good, Brett.
The lines start across the road for the MCG at the hotel there, and I think it's obviously public at the Pullman there. Nice hotel, but obviously wasn't a great experience for a young Ty Gallop because he had his place ransacked after someone turned up with a fake ID and managed to talk their way up into Ty's room. Now, maybe clever by the thief because he didn't use a big name. Ty's just early on in his career, so if he had to use Lockie Neal or Dunkley, probably wouldn't have got through. But he gets up there all the same, steals a bit of cash and a few other things. So, bad performance by the hotel.
No, that's no good. That's no good. That could have nearly fallen into the ugly. Yes. My ugly is the worries at Essendon. They just keep bubbling away, and the captain, Zach Merritt's name, is continually thrown up as someone who is asking a lot of questions, seeking a lot of answers. How ugly, Geordie?
From people externally,
or I think internally and externally. And I mean, he hasn't played in a final. He's played 250 games. Draper, we believe, is probably going to leave. There's other players that have asked to go as well. Ridley's another name. How ugly could this get for Essendon's rebuild and Brad Scott if Zach Merritt, the captain, was to ask for a trade?
I think it's pivotal that they try and keep him. And I know he's contracted, and I think there's certain players in terms of fabric players for football clubs, and we've spoken about Dave Swallow. He probably had opportunities to leave that football club. Zach Merritt, he would be highly desired by other football teams, but they just can't lose him under any circumstances. Whatever his grievances are, they need to try and fix those, because you could just see the hope and the morale around the group would be severely dented.
Big time. Brownie.
Yeah, it's a bad one. Darcy Jones on Saturday, just devastating for the young man. Did his knee, came in to put pressure on the oppo, and it just caught his knee the wrong way at the wrong angle. It was devastating. You know how devastating it was for the club because Adam Kingsley had his head in his hands himself on the bench nearby when he got the news back. Straight away, the doctors let the coaches know. So he's certainly an impact on the second half. Bad luck to him.
I mean, losing finals is bad enough, but the long-term injuries is nearly,
and he's a
nearly worse.
Yeah.
My ugly was a little bit of the behind-the-play free kicks again. We'll have a look at this one from Voss on Powell. Now, that's overt, and this one on Stewart on Loman was paid a free kick as well. Let's not kid ourselves. You boys are big forwards. That happens every contest. Every time the ball's going to come in your area, there is a body play and a positional play for...
It's unusual that we've seen two of them, though. Is there a directive, you think, to look at contact like that?
No, I think that either defenders or forwards lose their feet or lose their balance in those contests quite often. But because it's not in the broadcast arc, we don't see it. When free kicks are paid, it's quite obvious because they're a long way away from the play. So, sometimes you can win the contest by too much. You can definitely do it in a marking contest now, but in the wrestling that takes place to position yourself for when the ball's coming, that's part of...
Isn't that why we have 4 umpires?
Part of your role. Well, potentially, I think that should make it easier, but they would know, they would see it quite often. So, are they over the threshold?
Big prices to pay. Big prices to pay with those free kicks close to goals.
Well, more so the Stewart one.
Yes. Up next, though, we're going to go a quick break, and after that, we are going to sing the praises. As always, to finish up the show, it is time to sing the praises, and we're going to sing the praises of some players that might have gone under the guard on the weekend with the way they performed. And Brownie, you are going to kick us off.
Yes, Jared Witts, one of Nathan's old pupils. He was
taught him everything he knows.
Absolutely. Did you? I'm not sure about that statement, but he had more hit-outs than Darcy and Jackson combined. He needed to stand up if there were any chance of going over to the West and winning. And stand up he did. Look at the big man down the line as well. Some of the hit-outs, all that sort of stuff. He's had a consistent season. He's a great clubman. And obviously you did show him a few things.
He's an enormous gentleman, great man, and has led that club really well and playing probably the best footy of his career, which is great. I've got Paddy Dangerfield. They had him on ice, but he played more centre bounces in this game than we've seen from him for a long time. They're averaging 5 and then just went in. And it wasn't so much him getting the clearance as it was just being a battering ram to stop the Lions from getting clearances and then giving his other teammates a chance to get... This is the one that straight after half-time, he actually runs into Tom Atkins. But in the end, just that absolute intent to get to the ball, it was a bowling ball type mentality that created loose balls for his teammates.
Rewards a week off. I've gone Murphy Reid, and purely for the ground ball game and the vision and the hands on the weekend. It was a real standout from being live at the ground. Just look at this sort of stuff. That is vision. It's clean below. It was a bit slippery. There'd been a fair bit of rain that had come through before the game, but the cleanliness in his hands was a feature between Bucks and I.
Personally, to me, that is a reason why you don't need Pryor. Because players should know where their exits are and they can get it in and out of their hands really quick.
He's certainly the greatest player.
Going down a rabbit hole now, Nathan.
It takes me to go. I've got Isaac Quaynor, and I think going back into the Lions' den, 3 weeks ago, we all know what happened with Isaac Rankin. What this man did behind the ball, we spoke about Darcy Moore in the defence. He had his 4th best game for the season, highest rated, but I reckon he had his best game for the season. The way he performed under the pressure that he was on, and the Colling was under, going back over into enemy territory, was incredible. He was so good behind the ball, in the air, and then gave them some...
It's a good point you make, too, because he would have carried a fair bit of pressure after what happened.
It certainly was. Well, it sets up for a great weekend of footy, boys. We've got Adelaide versus Hawthorn on Friday night, and the Lions versus Suns in the Q Clash. And then we'll be here next Monday live on the couch.